Okay, I have Joshua Hamidu here. This is General Joshua Hamidu. I'm going to tell you a story about how 2000's running mate was picked. All right. This story involves 3 men, okay? The first one is Joshua Hamidu, General Joshua Hamidu, very distinguished army officer. Joshua Hamidu was the one who held the military forces together in 1979. If Joshua Hamidu was not there in 79, the other ranks of the army would have killed every officer. They said they are going to kill every officer and they are going to kill every businessman. If you read Professor Bennett's book, it's there. The soldiers said they will kill every officer and kill every businessman. Because Aluta Continua and Power to the People and that, they were led by J.J. Rawlings, okay. Hamidu it was who stabilized the situation a little bit. He was a general at the time, very good guy. So he had fallen out with Rawlings and went abroad. And he had kept his relationship with Kufuor, and I believe that he had known Buzia and all of that. He had a lot of confidence in General Joshua Hamidu, okay. So it was pretty obvious that General Hamidu was going to be the running mate of J.A. Kufuor. That was pretty obvious. It was there, it was happening. It was going to happen. The story I'm telling you today happens on a Friday morning, sometime in the middle of 2000. I, as a common reporter in Joy FM, sitting down and waiting for the front page program, which started at 8 o'clock on Friday mornings, and it was led by my board chairman, Kweku Sechiado. Now, so this story is about Kweku Sechiado, Tony Edu, and Joshua Hamidu. That's the story I'm going to tell you. It's a very interesting story. Kweku Sechiado, host of Joy FM's front page, leading journalist, global journalist. At that time, Kweku was also reporting for CNN and BBC. And Tony Edu was Minister for Defense under the Rawlings administration, actually Deputy Minister for Defense, but a very powerful deputy. And Joshua Hamidu was in contention to become Kufuor's running mate for election 2000. These 3 men, the 2 gentlemen, appeared on Kweku Sechiado's front page program on Joy FM. Huge radio political program. Huge. Very, very huge. Okay? And so I was there as a reporter and Tony Edu came in. So our work is just to make sure that everything is fine and all of that. So I knew him. Tony Edu and I had a lot of conversations together. One of the most respected brains in Ghana is Tony Edu. I have to say that. I've engaged with him several times. When he used to live at the Ridge Roundabout, I'll go there, sit with him and talk. That time he was Deputy Defense Minister. I'll go to his office. I had a lot of conversations with Tony Edu, and he's a great brain. So on that day, when he arrived, he saw me. He said, "Paul, you are here." I said, "Yeah, boss, I'm here." He said, "Today I'm going to release a bombshell." Tony Edu was like that. Yeah, I'm going to release a bombshell, and you and your MPP people, in those days when they said of me as MPP, I'll say I'm not MPP and that kind of thing. Now I don't say that anymore, but I used to say that. So Tony Edu said, you and your people, you're going to see. This is the year 2000, 22 years ago, okay? All right. So then he said bombshell. So as a reporter, as soon as he said bombshell, I said, no, I need to look at this program very well. So I started asking the people who work on the program that, do you have a recording? Can I get a tape after the program? They were wondering why, Sam Banaman and co. But because Tony Edu had told me he's going to do a bombshell, I wanted the story, right? So the program started. And I don't remember the first question Kweku Sechiado asked, but he asked a question of Hamidu. And sometime in Hamidu's explanation, Tony Edu interjected and told Kweku Sechiado that, look, Joshua Hamidu has spoken for 20 minutes. I am going to take the same 20 minutes. If he speaks 20 minutes, I speak 20 minutes. Sechiado said, that's fine, no problem, Tony Edu, calm down. You'll be okay, calm down. Hamidu spoke impeccable English, I have to say. And so he had done his rendition of, I don't remember what it was, but it was an introductory remark. But he spoke for that long, 25 minutes or so. 25 minutes on radio is very, very long. So it got to Tony Edu's turn. And Tony Edu, I remember that the host, Sechiado, was concerned that Tony Edu is not addressing the question. He's talking about something else. Tony Edu had a dossier. I don't know whether it's true or not. I still don't know. We really cannot vouch for it. What was his dossier? Now, Tony Edu and the NDC were aware that General Hamidu was being prepared to be the running mate of J.A. Kufuor. They were particularly worried about the popularity of General Hamidu in the north and thought that if Hamidu became J.A. Kufuor's running mate, all the Rawlings gains of the north will be eroded because Flight Lieutenant Rawlings was very powerful in the north in those days. And the NDC were concerned that if General Hamidu becomes Kufuor's running mate, as they are hearing, then the gains that Rawlings is getting in the north will be eroded. Given that Kufuor was an Ashanti candidate and was going to mass up the votes in Ashanti as he had done in 1996, they were particularly worried that the Mills ticket was not going to win the election if Hamidu was the running mate. So they needed to do something about this Hamidu matter. This was Tony Edu who had to do this something. So this story came out. I don't know whether it's true or not. On the front page program, Tony Edu said he's going to say something today. And that something he's going to say is true. And that General Hamidu is a murderer. So everybody was what is Tony talking about? General Hamidou a murderer? He said, yes. And Hamidou started getting upset. He said, please. He said, oh, Hamidou, stop that. I'm going to tell you. I'm speaking as Deputy Minister of Defense, and I'm bringing you the records from Burma camp. And I'm telling you that, General Hamidou, it was you who included a free first name in the execution. For young people who are watching me, you will not understand it. But I'm sure for the older people who are watching me, once I've just said, they will say, hey, because it meant a lot. That if it was Hamidou who included a free first name in the execution, that meant a lot. And Tornado continued reciting, so the program ended abruptly. That's how bad it was. The program didn't continue because Hamidou got angry. Tornado actually stood up. Kwekuse Chado was trying to control them. He played music and he addressed both men. He was very serious about his work. Tornado left the studio. He went out. So I had friends who were working at the castle at the time. We were doing national service at the time. So I quickly called them. And I said, what's happening at the castle? They said, Charlie, everybody's listening to Joy. I said, is Jerry there? They said, yeah, they are sure Jerry's there. They don't see him. They are national service, but they don't see him. But they are sure Jerry's there. Everybody's listening to Joy FM. All the soldiers, everybody's listening. And I said, but the program has ended. They said, yeah, they know. I said, okay, keep your eyes there. Tell me what happens. So another 35 minutes, they called me. And I said, what to say? Hey, Charlie, Tornado came back here. The rousing welcome he got. I said, I see. He came to the castle and said, yes, he's here. The welcome, everybody is screaming. I said, wow. So the NDC may have achieved their objective. So that's how the program ended. Tornado said that it was General Hamidou who added a free first name to the list. Now let me come back and tell you the story. So this list they are talking about is a list of people who were executed in 1979. Fly Lieutenant Rawlings has continuously put out the view, and I believe him, that he was not altogether in charge of the executions. Actually, Boachijan has said so as well, that JJ was not in charge of the execution. JJ was the leader of the group, but he wasn't in charge. Of course, Ba Chamfor, we have a video of him who is saying to the Truth and Reconciliation Commission that Rawlings was not altogether responsible for the executions. So names were written of people who were executed. Kutua Champon, F.W.K. Akufu. Odato Wellington had died in the battle. And others, Joy Medome was killed. Vice Masaya Boachi. They are soldiers who were listed and killed. Okay. Afrifa had been leader of government in 1966. He was part of those who did the Nkrumah coup, overthrew Nkrumah. He did a coup with Kotoka. Later, Kotoka died at the airport, and that's how the airport is named after him. He died in a counter coup that some shooting occurred and Kotoka died. So Afrifa became the de facto leader, sort of. General Ankara had a corruption problem and was eliminated. So Afrifa became the de facto leader. So by the time power was being handed over, it was Afrifa who had the big story. Okay. Afrifa then decided to retire from the army and become a politician. So in 1979, he ran for elections as a member of parliament for Mampo in Ashanti. Guess what? He ran for parliament not on the Ashanti party ticket, which would have been the Popular Front Party, Victor Usu's party. He ran on the Oforiatta ticket, which is the UNC, United National Convention. So Afrifa was the only candidate in Ashanti who was not PFP. Every candidate in Ashanti, at that time, Ashanti had about 32 constituencies, the highest. Every candidate there was PFP. PFP won every seat in Ashanti, just as Nal won every seat in Volta region. Nal is what became the NDC, if you like. Okay, so Afrifa was the only one who was able to win a seat in Ashanti that did not belong to the PFP, belonged to Power Willis UNC. Afrifa was very, very powerful, and he won that in Mampong. So he had been elected as a member of parliament, waiting for inauguration, when the soldiers went to Mampong, grabbed him, brought him to Accra, and shot him dead. And so the concern was, but if you are killing people who had been in government and you see they are corrupt, what has Afrifa done? He has finished government 10 years ago. He has stayed in Ghana. He has done his farms. He's become a politician. Why did you go and kill him? And since 79, the story had lingered on in the minds of Ashanti elites, and they were very concerned about the inclusion of Akwesi Amankwah Afrifa. J.J. Rawlings is reported to have told Otumfuo Opoku-Ware several times that it wasn't his idea, he was against it, because Opoku-Ware was interested. Why are they killing my dish here? So that was the concern, that's the philosophy. And J. Ekufuor comes out of the belly of the UP in Ashanti. He comes from Apijafie, he's a royal. So the Afrifa thing is a big story for all of them. Then comes Tornado, who tells the general public that Hamidou was responsible for Afrifa's list name on the list. You can understand the consternation that created in Ashanti region. Everybody was concerned. And the question then went to Kufuor that, would you still have Hamidou as your running mate, so that he becomes vice president if you win this 2000 election that we think you're going to win? when he was the one who is being alleged to have been responsible for a First execution. Kufuor loved Hamidu. Everybody loved Hamidu. He was a gentleman. He spoke well. Great soldier. Great brain. Everybody loved Hamidu. But this was a sticking point. This one was a sticking point. So I believe J. Kufuor took the decision that, well, I have an election to win. If I become president, I can do anything I want with Hamidu. At this stage, I don't want any consternation in my home region, Ashanti. I need to grab 76% of Ashanti votes. And Ashanti includes Mampong. Akwesi Amankwah Free Face home. I can't have this happen. In fact, Kufuor had the plan in his mind that if he were to win the election, he will go back and exhume the bodies of the murdered generals and rebury them. And he did. He did. Akufo-Addo, as Attorney General, one of his first responsibilities was to go and exhume the bodies of the generals and rebury them. And Akufo-Addo appeared in Mampong for Akwesi Amankwah's funeral. The funeral that was done in 2002 from 79. Because they exhumed the bodies. Akufu was buried, Achampong was buried. The government facilitated all that to bring reconciliation among Ghanaians. Let's get back. I'm not done with the story. Please get back to the story. All right. So this is what happened in 2000 relating to the running mate of J. Kufuor. Now, Kufuor was saddled with what to do. Kufuor then decided that I can't have Hamidu. Then he set up a search party very quickly because they didn't have time. This is around June. Election is in December. Your running mate is gone. You need a new one. So he calls his friend Aliu Mahama. Aliu chairs the search party. He says, Aliu, get me running mate from Dagomba like yesterday. Aliu says, okay. He says, I'll do it. He hits the road with his team. Comes to Kufuor once. He says, I have this. Kufuor said, I don't like that. He said, I have this. He said, oh, this man is a nice man, but yeah. Then they say Hawa Yakubu, which is what I jumped to. I mean, as a reporter, I heard the rumors, people around Kufuor, of Kwame Boateng and co, may they rest in peace. And Kwame Boateng will whisper to me and say, I didn't know, oh, my main cancer. And me say, oh, Debema Hawa Yakubu. I said, good. I called my editor, Joy. I said, I have a story. It looks like the thing is going to Hawa Yakubu. I was running around for this running mate story. I was very delighted in 2001 when I won News Reporter of the Year for the GJA. And I was told that you have won News Reporter because of your story on the running mates in election 2000. I did a lot on the running mates in elections. Both parties. I was everywhere. And Audrey Gajepo, who chaired the thing, thought that I had done an excellent job because I submitted all the stories for the GJA people. So the running mate story is mine. It's mine, okay? It's mine. All right, so Kwame Boateng told me this. And then I told my reporter, my editor, that they say the thing is going to Hawa Yakubu. So I quickly got to Hawa Yakubu. I went to her office. I said, Madam, you're going to be running me. Say, hey, Paul, who told you that? I said, well, I've heard. So I'm here to pick up your CV and publish it. He said, well, if God helps us, why not? So I said, Madam, give me your CV. And then she gave me your CV. She had CV wrote through. She gave me sound bites. I took it to the office. We played and said, Kufuor is considering Hawa Yakubu. Okay. Some forces in the MPP thought that Ghana was not ready for a woman. And that Kufuor, if Kufuor has to win this election, he doesn't have to significantly shake the status quo and the foundations of our political thought. This bringing woman as vice president is going to, you don't need that. That's what Kojo Penim and Co were telling him. You don't know. Bechebelamte and Co were telling Kufuor, you don't need that. So Hawa Yakubu got dropped. Aliu has to continue the search. So one day, Aliu comes with another list. Kufuor says, Alaji, put the paper down. What about you? I understand that Aliu looked behind him. And there was Kufuor's sitting room is like the airport residential area house. It's a huge sitting room like that. So Aliu looked behind him. And Kufuor said, I say you. He said, oh, but me, I'm a businessman, contractor. He said, but where we are, think about it. And that's how you got J. Kufuor and Alhaji Aliu Mahama ticket. So this is the story about, so running mate all the time comes as a surprise. John Mahama in 2008 and Professor J.A. Mills. Okay. John Mahama was never on the was never on the cards of Professor Mills. Professor Mills had a firm view, and he was very strong on his views, Professor Mills. He said to the NDC people, I had gone to election 2004 with, I'd gone to election 2000 with, that's another surprise, Martin Amidu. Complete, total surprise. Nobody expected it. Professor Mills came and named Martin Amidu as his running mate. Okay, they didn't win. In 2004, Professor Mills had Mohammed Mumuni. Not altogether surprising, but he had him. And the Mills told the NDC people in 2006 that I went to 2004 with Mohammed Mumuni. I'm a Christian from the southeast, Muslim from the north, which is what you people say we should do. Now, we all believe that we won the 2004 elections. We actually went to court. Rojo Metil Nunu went to court. That election had been won by Professor Mills. Mills says, if we won the election, why should I drop Mumuni? I'm going again. I'm going with Mumuni. What's the problem? Mills was strong on his views like that. So that became a problem, and the conversations went round. We've showed you a video here before that. Even on the day when Professor Mills had to announce his running mate, so much was the tension that he couldn't show up at the event venue. He was afraid because J.J. Rawlings and his team were going to the event venue to stop Mills from announcing a name they didn't like. Other forces were at the Kama Conference Center ready to prevent Mills from giving out a name they didn't like because they had heard that he was thinking about John Dramani Mahama. In fact, the story is told that J.J. Rawlings had gone to John Mahama's house twice to see him, to tell him not to do the running mate, but that he should allow Betty Mould Idrisu to do it. So Betty Mould was a candidate for Mr. Rawlings and Mrs. Rawlings. John Mahama was a complete outsider. He was not part of this conversation. At that time, John Mahama was about to be selected as the head of the Commonwealth Parliamentary Union with his office in London. He was preparing to leave. I know that. Many people, well, some people know that. John Mahama was preparing to leave, has been elected as the head of Commonwealth Parliament. And so he was going to go to London. But a few people told Professor Mills that if you have to win this election, it ought not to be just about you, because everybody knows you. You have to have that candidate that has the wow factor, the oomph, the thing. You have to have someone who has a thing. And if we look at NDC right now, look at John Mahama. He's wearing T-shirt number 2 in it. All the young people like him, and that's what you need. Professor Mills, you have to have that. So Mills reluctantly agreed with the experts that you needed John Mahama. So now come and announce John Mahama. He didn't go. He couldn't show up. Maybe Terry will find a video for you. Elvis Efrie Ankra is the one who was given the thing to announce. So journalists got to the event. The event had ended. The event that we thought was going to take an hour, it took 2 minutes, maybe 1 minute. So everybody goes to the event. Professor Mills hasn't arrived. So in fact, I called my reporter. Are you there? He said, yes, Professor Mills he hasn't come. I said, okay, let's relax. Then the reporter goes, hey, boss, that time was 2000 and what? This is before 2008. So 2006, 7, we started City FM. Yes, so I think it was City. So he called me and said, boss, they've done the announcement. It's John Mahama. I said, wow, it's John Mahama. I said, yes. I said, but why didn't you tell me when Mills arrived? Because I told him that when Mills arrives, call me so that I'll come there or I'll do something. I needed to know that Mills has arrived. He didn't call me. And he said the announcement is being said, Professor Mills didn't come. I said, what are you talking about? He said, no, he didn't come. I said, who is there? He said, Rawlings is here. I said, so who made the announcement? He said, Elvis Efrie Ankra. I said, wait, I don't understand. He said, yeah, boss, that's what happened. Professor Mills didn't come. I said, so he's not there? He said, no, he's not there. I said, okay, so on what authority did Elvis read it? He said, yes, he read one paragraph of the authority, that he had been sent here by this national chairman is aware, all that. He read all the legal things. And then he said, I am hereby commanded to tell you that Professor Mills has selected John Dramani Mahama as his running mate. He folded the paper, sat in his car, went to Cuckoo Hill. Bye-bye. So what happened? Every reporter, senior reporter, went to Cuckoo Hill. So I went to Cuckoo Hill. When I got to Cuckoo Hill, Roland Akwa Samson was there, Raymond Archer. Everybody went to Cuckoo Hill to go and understand what has happened. So we arrived there. Professor Mills was upstairs, and he was all smiles. He was smiling. He said, oh, how are you? We said, but Prof, you have a running? He said, yes, I have a running mate. And then John Mahama started arriving to loud cheers, noise. And I remember that after in Cuckoo Hill, there was a lot of confidence among the NDC people that this time, something was going to happen. So that's how John Mahama was selected. Completely as an outsider, nobody knew anything. So I don't know whether that trend is going to continue this year. 24, but I suspect it will.